So, do you have this brilliant idea for your next startup, but you're not exactly sure where to get the funding? And you've heard of crowdfunding and you're wondering if maybe that could be the right fit for you and your business? Well, today we're going to dive into the two main types of crowdfunding, both crowdfunding through sites like Kickstarter and crowdfunding through sites like WeFunder, Republic, Start Engine, and others, where it's more like equity crowdfunding. We're going to dive into the two, and we're going to talk about like which one is better for different situations, because not one size fits all when it comes to crowdfunding. And there are certain advantages and disadvantages to each. So let's start with just normal crowdfunding, because it's been around the longest through companies like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And to be honest, I should probably not admit that I am a huge addict of Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I think at this point I've backed something like 110 campaigns on Kickstarter. For me, I just love it. I love like evaluating startups and companies and seeing new ideas. And for me, one of the toughest parts of my job as a venture capitalist is telling entrepreneurs no. But on Kickstarter, like I can say yes and give them a very small amount of money and try and be supportive of their overall mission. And so for that reason, I've always loved Kickstarter. And now that equity crowdfunding is really taking off, I'm starting to find myself investing in more and more of those companies as well, because you can do it with relatively small amounts of money. And therein lies like the beauty of crowdfunding. You can get in front of people like me and lots of others that are willing to invest. They just may not be willing to invest or able to invest millions of dollars in your startup, but they can invest $100, $200, $1,000, $5,000 and take that risk. And there are a lot more people that can invest at those levels than there are that can invest at the much bigger levels. So here's one of the things that I love about crowdfunding through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. It can be an amazing place to test products. So let me tell you the story of a friend of mine. So he was still in college. He wanted to start this watch business. He didn't have the money because he was a poor college student at the time, living off ramen. I can use Kickstarter to raise the money I need for that initial purchase order, because when you go to China and you want to buy a bunch of products, it's really, really costly to buy just one unit, right? But if you can buy like 1,000 units, you can drive the cost down by quite a bit. And so that's what he decided to do. So here's what he did. He wanted to start this watch company. So he created a website. He put a bunch of pictures of different watches on there. He didn't actually have any inventory. And then he just put it out there. He told his friends and family about it. He spent some money on Facebook ads and got people to come to the website. They checked it out. They checked out the different watches they wanted. And when they tried to buy, they got a notification that said, sorry, we're out of stock, but we'll be in touch when we're back in stock. He leveraged that data to tell him which watches would be popular and how much he could charge per watch and to sell the most amount of watches. He took all that information, put it on Kickstarter, and basically said, I want to launch this new brand for watches, but it's really expensive to get my initial order quantity in, and I need like $10,000 to do it. Help me raise this $10,000, and for everybody that kicks in at least $100, I'll give you a watch, right? And so he was able to pre-sell all of his inventory. He raised about $16,000. He took that $16,000 and went and bought a ton of inventory. When it came in, he distributed out the watches that he had pre-sold with Kickstarter, and then used the remaining inventory to sell through his website. And that's really how he kickstarted his business, with literally no money. You can do the same thing. So if you're starting your company and you don't really have a lot of money to get started, you can do the same thing with your business even today. So if you don't have money to get started, you can use these crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo to get started, to prove out your business, to raise the initial money that you need for your initial inventory purchases, et cetera, et cetera. And it can be a great tool for that. It can also be a great tool if you're looking to prove out the type of products that you want to add in the future. So maybe you've already got a watch line and you're thinking, maybe we should add another watch. It can also be a great way to get PR. So, I'm friends with the founders of Nebbia. They make this really cool shower head that reduces your energy and your water bill by upwards of 70%. And they have launched on Kickstarter multiple times because they have found it super effective at attracting new customers to their brand. So there are a lot of great reasons to do crowdfunding, especially through those sites. One of the challenges, though, that you should be aware of is that just because you're on those sites doesn't mean you build it and they will come. You still have to do a lot of marketing on your own. And it can be a lot of work, frankly. Drive up interest in what you're doing and convince people that they should trust you by investing, or by not really investing, but by giving you money, and that you'll actually come through with your products. Now, that said, as somebody that's backed well over 100 Kickstarter campaigns, I can probably count on one hand the number of campaigns that haven't delivered, including some that took like 3 years to deliver, but they ultimately did, to their credit. All right, so one of the great things about crowdfunding through those sites is you don't give up any equity, but it's also a little bit harder to generate a lot of money on those sites, right? I think most sites generate somewhere around $100,000 in total receipts. If you need to raise millions of dollars, that's probably not going to work for you. Or let's say you have a company where you don't have a physical product to send out, or you have a consumable product that doesn't really fit with Kickstarter or Indiegogo. In that case, equity crowdfunding might be a better solution. In equity crowdfunding, it's very similar to Kickstarter or Indiegogo, except for instead of promising them product when it's ready for their contribution, you're actually giving them stock in your company, or you're providing a debt security for them. You're giving them an opportunity to invest in your business and grow with you and reap the benefits of taking those early risks by providing the capital that you need to get your business off the ground or get it growing. Now, one of the challenges is if you're a brand new company, a lot of the equity crowdfunding sites won't really work with you. Several of them require that you've already got a product, you've got customers, you've got traction before they're willing to put you on their site. And the reason for that is because they have a lot of reputation or risk at stake, right? They want to have really great companies on their platform. These sites want to make sure that the investment opportunities that they're representing meet a minimum threshold on quality, right? They're not going to guarantee that investors are going to make a ton of money, but they also want to make sure that the quality of the companies and the quality of the founders is, meets kind of that threshold. And as a brand new company and maybe as a first-time founder, that can be really challenging to convince them that you're there without a little bit more traction. A lot of companies that raise on these sites do it because they want to tap into the crowd and leverage all of these people, potentially customers, and make them advocates and owners in the business. Sometimes they do it because they want to raise money and traditional investors just, don't see it for whatever reason. There are a lot of great companies out there where traditional investors have said, not really a fit because they have some sort of bias. A perfect example of this, although it wasn't an equity crowdfunding, it was a crowdfunding campaign, is the Oculus. So the Oculus came out, one of the very, very first virtual reality headsets. They met with a ton of different investors. A lot of those investors were like, nah, virtual reality is just a gimmick. It's not really a thing, blah, blah, blah. Nobody will ever buy this. It's too expensive because, the devices were $1,000, $2,000. They went on Kickstarter back in 2016, raised over $2 million, and then got acquired by Facebook for over $1 billion, right? So sometimes traditional investors have these biases that keep them from seeing the real true opportunities that other people, the crowd, they do see, right? Maybe you're one of those people and you're able to see the opportunities that other traditional investors don't. That could be another great reason to raise from an equity crowdfunding site, is you want to tap in to investors that maybe are a little more diverse, that maybe view the world a little bit differently than more traditional investors. And you can find those types of people on these platforms. Now, just some of the reasons why you might not want to do equity crowdfunding. So one, you need to divulge a lot of information about your company, and you just may not be comfortable telling your potential competitors or current competitors how much revenue you did last month, or how your business fully operates and your business model and your margins and those types of things. You may not want them to be able to invest in your company, right? Because once you open it up, you kind of have to take money from everybody that's interested. Also is a lot of work. Some people think, if I just throw up a shingle on an equity crowdfunding site, the investors will come, I can sit back, the money will just roll in. And it's way easier than trying to meet with venture capitalists and convince them to invest. And I don't think that's true at all. I think at the end of the day, you're going to spend a lot of your time answering questions, reaching out to reporters to get PR, and you may even have to spend quite a bit of money on marketing just to get the word out there to potential investors about what your company is doing and the vision that you have for it and the ultimate success you think it can have. And so it can really be like a full-time job during the length of the crowdfunding campaign, which they typically last somewhere between 1 and 3 months. So you should be prepared for that. If you like this video, check out some of my others. like where I talk about whether or not valuations will get back to their 2021 levels.